Hey, good morning and welcome to Talking Church this Tuesday morning. And I'm joined today by my co-host and beautiful wife, Gina. And we're just going to be talking through some stuff in Talking Church today. And we hope you're well, wherever you're watching from. Some of you joining us here on Facebook, others joining us on YouTube. And don't forget, you can write in, comment, and say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. Also, any questions you've got or thoughts that you've got, hello@talking.church. I believe that'll come up on the screen. There you go. hello@talking.church. So there you go. Again, we've got some incredible people. Oh, we've got your sister-in-law watching from New York. Sister June is on. Sister-in-law June is on. Hi. Got people watching from Connecticut, people watching from Havant, different people from all over the place. So, again, let's make an awkward moment. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Anything new you want to talk about?
Oh.
As if we haven't, spent 29 years together. Anything you want to talk about?
Well,
anything you want to tell the people?
I just want to say good morning, and I hope wherever you are, you're doing really well. Hope you have good weather and all that stuff.
Yeah. So it's been a while since you've been on, eh?
Yeah.
So since you've been on, we have gained a son-in-law.
Yes, we have. New son-in-law.
So how's that working for you?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, doing great. I mean,
two of our kiddos married now.
Two of our children are married now, and I love our new kids through marriage. I love them. Yeah. They're great.
It's awesome, isn't it? Eh?
Yes.
And we're enjoying life. So I hope you're enjoying life too. Listen, we're going to get into talking some stuff. I'm not going to do to you what I did to Smudge the other week. Out of nowhere, I'm interviewing Smudge, and I said, "Are you going to have any more kids?" And obviously, it's that moment, I haven't spoken to my wife is watching. And as I was saying that, I was thinking, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, But are you going to have any more kids?
No.
No, definitely not. So we're okay with that. So any rumours that are going around that they've just been totally crushed. No. We're through that season of life.
We'd be like Abraham and Sarah.
We would be modern-day Abrahams and Sarahs there. But hey, for us, I suppose the next thing is grandkiddies, right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Pretty good odds, really. We got our two oldest children married now.
Yes.
3 children to go. So hey, that'll be a strange season and unusual.
Relatively young grandparents.
I think you will be a sensational grandmother.
I think I will be.
Now this could get me into trouble.
I will endeavor to be.
Would you want to be called? Now, in America, they have all these names that are like Mimi, Moo Moo.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just
a
good old-fashioned. I am not offended by the name Grandma.
Grandma?
I think it's great.
Okay.
Or my mother, her grandkids called her Grammy. I thought that was cute.
That's an award, isn't it?
Little Grammy. Well, hey, I'm going to be an award-winning Grammy.
Yeah.
So
you don't, because it always makes me laugh when we go to America sometimes, and they
have lots of incredible
Mimi,
names.
Poo Poo, Papa, and I'm like, why don't you just call him Granddad? Because in England, traditionally, Granddad is Granddad or Nan or Granddad.
Yeah.
So, wow, imagine that. One day we're going to have little next generation Andy and Gina's running around going, Granny, Granddad. And I've got to work on my name. Send in any names that you think I should have, whether I should be a Papa or something. No, I hate that. I mean, Papa. I just don't want that to happen. Any names that you think, future grandkids. Now, we've got no announcements, please. No rumour spreading, nothing. No announcements. But when the day comes when we're going to become grandchildren. Okay, Viola's saying Granny is called Lola in Philippines. That's not bad.
That's kind of cute.
You could be a Lola. You could definitely be a Lola. Any other names? Now, we got to be careful because Stuart's online, and the moment you ask a question like that, you just set yourself up. Stuart's like,
I think, though, that I'm just going to be traditional, and I'm just going to be...
Granny.
Grandma.
Grandma, not even Granny.
Whatever they feel comfortable calling me, I don't care.
All right, there we go. So we've got a few coming through ideas there. Hey, I want to talk today. I want us to have a chat about something that's overlooked, but actually, I believe, a really key ingredient to building things strong, and that's consistency. We had another phenomenal weekend in church, didn't we? What did you enjoy about, obviously we were in Portsmouth on Sunday, and we got different congregations all over the place, including our online congregation. What did you enjoy about Portsmouth on Sunday?
Well, what I always enjoy about church lately, and I've always enjoyed this, but just lately, it's just... What'll happen is during the worship and the praise, of course I'm worshiping and I'm praising. I'm not just, looking around. Just looking around. But one of the treats that I feel, well, is a treat for me is I just stop for a minute, I turn around, and I look behind me in church, because I tend to sit at the very front, and I just look at all the faces, and I just look at how the room is filled.
Amazing, eh?
And people are genuinely, I mean, it's one of the most beautiful. It puts a lump in my throat and makes me just feel all choked up. I turn around and they are just, I love it. There's just all nationalities, all colors, and people from all walks of life. And they're all worshiping God. And I think when I turn around in that moment and I look, and I just think, for me, it's like a snapshot of a throne room experience where we're all going to be, all the peoples, all the nations of the earth, standing before God and worshiping him. And I just love that moment. That, to me, is my treat moment. I just love it. So that was my favorite bit.
Stuart told me the other day that we have in Portsmouth, I think he said, 46 nations represented. In Portsmouth. We're talking Portsmouth in England. You know, the Bible says go into all the world. You know,
all the world has come into the building.
Us, right? Yeah. We got 46. Now, he'll correct me. He'll probably say, actually, it's 47 and a half or something like that. But around 46, all right? Around 46 nations represented in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Now, again, always amazes me when we start at 10:30.
Yeah.
We're kind of fairly full.
Yeah.
And then there is that moment.
It's like 10:45.
10:45, where you just turn around, or maybe somebody says, hey, go say hi to someone.
Go say hi to someone.
And the room is jam-packed.
Filled.
Now, we've got to remember that actually there's certain things that have enabled that to happen.
Yeah.
That, you know, other church leaders may watch this and go, well, how do we experience that? And to me, one of the key things that we can, obviously, we are strong today because of God, because of he carried us through what we call COVID days. And we've come out of that lockdown, that COVID season, which for us in England was 18 months. But suddenly we're looking out, and I am so thankful, at a really strong church, not just numerically, but also people serving, people getting on board. Every aspect of church is strong. And when I sit down and I say, why? There's a number of questions. You know, to me, when I throw that at you, obviously we're going to talk about consistency today, but what's one of the reasons or a couple of reasons you believe Family Church has come out of COVID and today is strong?
Well, I feel because we have never ceased to have a presence out there. You know what I mean? Our team, which is amazing, every single person who has worked hard. It's not just me and you here. It's, you know, we've got an entire strong team.
We've got an army.
We have an army of people who are just amazing. And everybody was all hands on deck when we knew we couldn't meet in person. It became online, and it just went from, you know, if you were to watch those first ones, you know, yes, we bumbled through a little bit, but every single week it just got better and stronger and a more quality and better presented for people. And I think for us, it was amazing team that we have behind us is why, you know, we're still here. And also because we were there, you know what I mean? The presence was out there because of our team and because of faithfulness. We never ceased to have a presence, and people always knew where we were going to be, exactly at what time we were going to be there. And
because again, that's consistency, isn't it? It's like I get to travel around the country. I see different expressions of church and church in different conditions. And I know of churches that during COVID, some by design, which I don't get, but others because they didn't have the option, shut down. Yeah. They shut down. They didn't have any online presence for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 8 months. And they came back, and sadly, there wasn't much there. Where for us, I'm so thankful to God and to our team. Yeah. When we came back a year ago now in July, it was July that we started meeting in the field, we came back. We came back and there was such strength. And to me, one of the keys of that was consistency. Now, when we look at Family Church is 25 years old in October. Yeah. Our 29th anniversary of marriage is in August, isn't it? We've been married in August 29 years. Next year is 30 years. Now, whether you look at church or whether you look at marriage, consistency isn't often spoken about, but it's like an unspoken secret, vitally important ingredient. But when I look out on family church, I think, yeah, consistency. It's because even though it wasn't dramatic or romantic, we kept on turning up. For 25 years, we have not missed a Sunday. When it rained, when it snowed, when COVID came, we said, we may need to change how we're doing this. But we've been there saying to people, we will be here. We will keep on reaching the lost. We will keep on discipling people. We will keep on caring for people. And I look at consistency as something that if you have a commitment to consistency, consistency will bear fruit for you. Now, it's the same with marriage, right? Now, there's the romance element of marriage, the passion of marriage, but also a lot of marriages don't make it because people don't have a commitment to consistency. That sometimes you get up and do things when you don't want to do them. When children come along, man, you need consistency. What's some areas of marriage and family that consistency is a non-negotiable?
Well, I think for anything in life, I mean, just start from the vows. It says in sickness and in health. You know, basically what you're saying there is in good days and bad days, realizing and not being silly about the journey and knowing there's going to be days that are hard. There's going to be days that seem impossible. You know, life is a journey, isn't it? It's beautiful flat ground, easy to walk on, and then there's mountains, and then there's, rough terrain. And just knowing that you're going to have all of that and saying, come what may, no matter what happens, no matter what the terrain is, we're going to get through it. We're going to do this, that there is an end goal. And keeping your eyes on the prize, so to speak, which is you want at the end of it a strong marriage, right? You want to be together down the line. You want that, we're growing old and with gray hair sitting on a front porch somewhere, holding hands, watching the butterflies go by. But how do you get there? You have to stay together. Yeah. You have to stay strong. You have to stay in love. And so it's just knowing there's going to be hard days and just saying, well, you know what? We soldier on. Yeah. We do this. Yeah.
This Sunday was, again, a moment in the calendar for Portsmouth that we don't really look forward to because, as you know, for 25 years now, we've had 40 plus people that turn up at the school gates at 7:00 and they build church for 2.5 hours. Then we do church, then they break it down. That's what church looks for us in Portsmouth. Now we are believing, come on, Lord, 25th anniversary birthday present building. That would be amazing. Can someone say amen? But this week is when we go into a section called exam tables. Now, obviously, schools, we use a school. We go into this season called exam tables, where for a number of weeks now, the kids are in exams.
Yes.
Which means for us to keep on using the sports hall, not only do we have to build it from scratch, but we have to break down about 200 or so exam tables and chairs, then build church, then break down church, and then put out the 200 or so exam tables and chairs. And we've always had a rule that we will not be an inch out. The caretaker had a deal, and we said we will never be an inch out. And we never have been. That's a lot of consistency.
Yeah.
It's almost like this time of year is where we make the same bricks, but we take away the straw. We go, and we're going to... But I'm so thankful that in the culture of family church, led by heroes, is this ingrained understanding we must be consistent. Consistency bears fruit.
Yeah.
Now, with even like things like disciplining kids, you've got to be consistent, haven't you? Kids are hilarious. If they'll come to one parent and say, can I do this? And if a parent says no, they go to the other parent. You learn that about parenting soon on. But if you're going to discipline a child and say, no, listen, you can't do that for a day. You've got to have consistency, haven't you? Mm-hmm. What have you learned about being a mum of 5 kids, concerning the place of consistency in our family?
Well, I've done it right, and both of us have done it right, and both of us have done it wrong.
True.
Where our word and the action or the consequence of that, word that we put out has to be followed. So to be consistent, your actions to be consistent with your words, or let's say the threat. If you do this, then this is going to happen, or this toy will be taken away from you, or you won't get that treat if you do this. But if you are not consistent with your word, then people look at you and they think, the children will look at you and be like, you don't mean what you're going to say, and then therefore they push the boundaries then, because they know that more than likely they'll get away with. More than likely, they'll get those jelly beans. You know what I mean? So then they'll get the jelly beans, and they'll push the boundaries and get, extend their circle of whatever. And so I just think in parenting, consistency is what I say is golden, and it will happen as I say it.
And we stand by.
And we stand by it.
Say.
Yeah.
Now, when we look at the fruit of consistency, to me, one of the fruits of consistency, again, these are unseen things. One fruit of consistency is momentum. But if you have good consistency, you keep on turning up, you keep doing what you're meant to do, you keep standing by what you need to stand by, you don't give up on your dreams, that produces, over time, momentum. Now, when we think of momentum, we think of maybe the cycle of a washing machine. Or momentum is if you're pushing a car. That first moment where you've got to push a car when it's broken down? You expend a lot of energy. You push hard. But once you've got the car rolling, all you need to do is keep on going.
Yeah.
But if you stop, then you've got to expend that energy again
just to get
the cycle or the momentum going.
Yeah.
Consistency, doing something continually without stopping, persuaded, rain or shine, gives you the gift of momentum. Yeah. When you have momentum, then you expend less energy just spinning what you've got going. And we've known, one of the things that we've always done together, I started doing it alone first, then we started together, was Breakfast of Champions. And at different times with Breakfast of Champions, we thought, are we done? Has it had its season? But isn't it hilarious how God always sends someone to speak about our Breakfast of Champions? Now, we've just sat down the last couple of weeks, haven't we, and said, we've been replaying a lot of the older ones. No, we've got to now be consistent again. And the good news is we've started writing again Breakfast of Champions. So
some new ones went out today.
Yeah, today Gina has written some new Breakfast of Champions because we realised what we were doing, we were letting the old ones just replay.
Well, we actually just didn't think that it was a fruitful branch of our lives anymore. So we thought, what's not fruitful? But everywhere we go, without fail, anywhere in the world that we go, we meet someone that says, Breakfast of Champions, that is just changing my life. And I'm sitting there like, okay.
I've been in the Philippines. Yeah. And somebody's come up and said, Breakfast of Champions has changed my life. But it's normally at a time when we're like, are we done
just when we're ready to give it up.
But actually, it's something that God's saying, no, stay consistent with. So we've started writing again. So if you've not yet signed up to Breakfast of Champions, breakfastofchampions.co.uk, free email to your inbox, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And apparently some people say it's changing their lives.
And it's changing their lives. So there you go. But now, when we look at consistency is what gives you momentum. People often talk to me as a church leader and say, we want momentum in what we're doing. Then you've got to have consistency. You can't just do it then, do it here, not do it here, do it there. You've got to have a track of consistency. Now, when I look at consistency, another word for consistency for me is diligence.
Yeah.
Now, we love Proverbs, don't we?
We do.
Now, Proverbs speaks of diligence. What is diligence? According to the dictionary, diligence is careful and persistent work or effort. That's what diligence is. Careful and persistent work or effort. Now, what does Proverbs say about diligence? 2 verses that I've grabbed. Number 1, Proverbs 12:24. Diligent hands rule, or the hand of a diligent will rule, but laziness ends in forced labour. So the hand of a diligent rules. What's diligence? Somebody that has passion, but also consistency. Then Proverbs 10 verse 4, similar, says, he becomes poor that deals with a slack hand. That's good King James terminology there.
Yes, yes.
He become pooreth. He becomes poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Yeah. King James. So again, consistency, diligence, They've got to be related, haven't they?
Yeah.
Isn't diligence and consistency starting something but then continuing it?
Yeah.
That's not what modern society says is successful, is it?
No, I guess not.
Modern society, it's like, do this, you'll be famous. Do that, overnight,
Yeah, they just want
microwave.
everything quick, and if it doesn't make a quick turnover in whatever way, it's kind of like, well, let's just scrap that. But there is something definitely to starting something, and then even slow and steady, like the old Aesop's fable story, with the tortoise, and the hare. It's just like that tortoise just kept going, and it was, he may have been slow, but it's like, I have this like diet app, and they just send me all these things every day, and they're like, progress, any kind of progress is still progress, is not going back. Small steps are still steps, forward. So, I mean, every day doesn't have to be giant strides in whatever we do, but just something, something that is something of forward momentum. Just even little baby steps is still forward motion.
And if you keep with the forward motion, consistency, it will bear fruit. We're living in a time where especially, I see it with young church leaders. They just want to do something a couple of times and have a result. Yeah. And we've learned, because we were probably like that 25 years ago.
Who looks when you're in your 20s? You're not thinking in 25 years' time. Actually, the thought of you still being in the same place 25 years later might actually scare you to death.
I think that's why God didn't tell us.
Yeah, I think, we thought, we'll give a good, 5-6 years, this thing will be thumping, wonderful, God will move us on to whatever's next, and, 25 years later, we're still here. Yeah.
Where evangelists don't really use much consistency. They turn up, it's a moment, it's a night, it's a weekend, boom, then you move on. But suddenly God said to us, he wanted us to build a church in Portsmouth. We were thinking 5 years. Yeah. And then we'd hand over this 25 years, here we are. But actually, when I look back, I see that it's a consistency of keep turning up, keep doing what God asks you to do for 25 years that leaves you with a church that, like family churches today, without buildings. Through COVID, God has kept us strong. So diligence is important. Consistency bears fruit. In marriage, in hobbies, or in skills. It's like I remember during lockdown, I started walking, didn't I? I just said to you, I'm going to start walking, and I started walking 4 or 5K a day. Again, it was natural for me. You know the way I'm wired. I move on really quick to go. All right, I've done it for a week now.
Why do I not have calf muscles?
Why haven't I got legs like a mountain goat? I've been doing this for a whole week. Yeah. But actually, that's something I kept going because I actually found it was a brilliant way to mix my prayer life and some exercise. Yeah. But actually, I see the results now of the consistency of continued walking. Most days I go out and I walk 5K or something like that. But it's not in short-term return, is it? And I think with building church, I would say to any younger pastors, don't look at short-term return. Yeah. Don't look at it. Rather say, come on, let's do this with a long-term vision. Yeah. Let's commit to consistency. Let's say, let's keep turning up until God does it. Let's keep being faithful. Yeah. Let's keep being diligent, because the hand of a diligent rule. Yeah. Now, we need consistency in our walk with God as well, don't we?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Because we were speaking on Sunday in Portsmouth about, again, that excellent clarion call that we're not called to a religion about God, but a relationship with God. Now, when we talk relationship, it helps us to understand what God desires from us and what we can expect from him. Now, in any relationship, there has to be consistency. Love is consistent, right? Love, consistent love covers the good bits, the bad bits, the hard bits in a marriage. And in our walk with God, there's got to be a consistency. We can't expect everything in one moment. What does consistency in our devotion to God look like?
Well, okay, because God likens our relationship with Him like a marriage, we can look at it like a marriage, like what you spoke of on Sunday. And, we need to be consistent in how we meet up with Him. I mean, if you wanted to meet up with your husband or your wife maybe once a week or once a month, I would say that's seeds for a bad marriage.
Yeah.
If you wanted to have a talk just every now and again to share your heart with someone, to be in a deep relationship with them, just every now and again, maybe again once a month, maybe even once a week, I think that would be terrible. I just think that it is with the consistency, again, of little things, just sharing. Not every day has to be big, deep thoughts, but again, just sitting over the breakfast table, just sitting there and saying, so, did you sleep good last night? Oh, yeah. Do you have any dreams? Tell me about your dream. It's just relationship is about the big things, but it's also about the little things as well. It's about sharing your whole life and doing it again, persistently, consistently. And
Consistency is great, isn't it?
yeah, I'm just getting this thought. This is probably a thought that's out there, but just this little line that says consistency will change consistency. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Because the consistency, the constant doing of something will change the quality of something, that consistency of it. And I think that lack of consistency will also change, or actually there'll be no change in the consistency, the makeup of something. And what we want is things to grow and be better and to go from glory to glory. I mean, isn't that God? Yeah. And a verse, as soon as you said, let's talk about consistency, this verse came up to me. I didn't even know where it was. And I had to look up where it was. And this made a big difference as well, where it was. And it's Lamentations 3. Now, Lamentations is crying and weeping, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so the prophet in that, it's prophet Jeremiah, just crying and weeping a lot in his prophecies. But he says this, he has a big complaint about a lot of things and about the condition of where he's at and where, a lot of bad. And then he says, but this is the one thing that gives me hope, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies, they never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. And that's what gave that weeping, sad prophet, who had a lot of bad things that he talks about in Lamentations chapter 3, but what gave him hope? The steadfast love of the Lord, the unchanging faithfulness of God, the mercy that he knew that would be there today, tomorrow, a week from now. Consistency. And that's the same in a marriage. I mean, what if every day when you came to me, you didn't know what you were going to get? And this is sometimes the case in relationships, is one day, is she going to be moody? Is she going to be hateful to me today?
Is she going to want the marriage, not want the marriage?
Yeah. Is she going to be for us? Is she going to be not for us today?
Is she going to be happy?
Yeah. I mean, okay. Maybe you're speaking from experience here.
No. I'm just talking about someone I knew,
But that is how it is. We need to be consistent in ourselves, of what kind of person is somebody going to, is my husband, or as a wife, the husband that I come to, what is he going to be like every day? And we learn so much from God that his character just doesn't change. He is love. Yeah. He is faithfulness. He is truth. And every single day when we come to him, we know we're going to get that. Imagine if we went to God on a bad hair day that he was having.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even want to know. We might all be gone.
Oh, yeah. One bad hair day.
One bad hair day. Thank you, God, for not having a bad hair day. Help me to be more like you. Help me to be consistent like you are.
Steadfast love is consistent love.
Yeah.
You could say, the prophet could have said, the consistent love of the Lord never fails.
Yes.
Now, I'm just thinking of consistency. We've got people here saying they love online church.
Yeah.
What is online church? It's the consistency of Pastor Sarah.
Yeah.
That every Sunday, whether she feels like it or not, online church. She comes, she presents. Yeah. It's the recording. It's Dan. It's the team. The product is we've got people being fed and ministered to every Sunday, but it doesn't just happen.
No.
During COVID, I took up paddleboarding.
Yeah.
And for the first many times, it annoyed me. Our kids, like little whippets, they jumped out and they were like, ooh, me, foot splash, splash, splash. But I started to notice as I kept on doing it, the time between getting on the board and splashing in the water got less and less and less and less.
Yeah.
But you can't look at a paddleboarder and say, I'm going to do that without a commitment to consistency. With marriage, you've got to say, I'm going to commit to consistency. To walking with God, I'm going to commit to consistency. Do you know something interesting? You mentioned in that genius statement that you said that actually consistency has two definitions in the dictionary. Consistency means about continually doing something, but it also speaks of something like a cake. What's the consistency of the cake? Is it a right consistency? Meaning, is it the right thickness? Is it the right, feel to the cake? And where you have good consistency, faithfulness, you have good consistency, like you said, of how something's structured, made, of the health of something. Now, consistency is the opposite to complacency.
Yeah.
And these are big words for me, right? Complacency is when you can't be bothered.
Yeah.
And what we've got to remove from the modern church, and often from marriages that are in crisis, from things that haven't got momentum, is when there's complacency. How would you define that word complacent or complacency?
Oh, well, complacency, a complacent person. Let's see. All right, well, let's just take it back to a dieting thing again, right? Because this dieting app sends me all this. They send me, whether I'm consistent or not with the dieting app, the app is consistent with me. And I get all these, come on, Gina, you can do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not even on a diet anymore. But one of the things they said, and this one actually stuck with me because I thought that is such a great statement, that at the end of this year, you could have 365 days of momentum in your life, whether big or small, or you could have 365 days of excuses. It's up to you.
Oh, I like it.
And I went,
that's awesome.
And I thought, I'm already in what month? And I have so many, and I'm racking up the complacency. So at the end of the year, when I look back, what is going to be the result of that? Am I going to have, I'm really not on a diet or anything now, but I keep the app because if I keep putting it on, taking it off, it just, I just keep it there. But plus, I love these little things they send me every day. They're so positive, at the end of the year, it's just like your walking thing. Am I going to
get up and do it?
Am I going to have those muscles?
Yeah.
Or am I not going to have those muscles? And it's all down to, did I care or not?
Yeah.
Did I care? Was it important enough to me? And there are some things that we really need in this life to say, that is important to me. One of those things, it's the number one thing. It's the number one thing that Jesus said is love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. If the number one thing is to love God with everything that's in us, and that we don't have even an option as a Christian to be complacent about that. And by the end of the year, of every year, we need to look back over our lives and say, okay, maybe I didn't make the biggest strides, but I made forward motion in some way. I made time most days to spend it with Jesus, or to talk with him, or to read the word. Or am I going to look back and say, you know what, I'm not very different from last year, haven't really grown, don't know God any better, I'm still stuck in a rut in my relationship with God. In the end, it is about our decisions and our choices. Am I going to choose to do what Jesus said and love God with all my heart, soul, and mind? Or am I just going to put that on the side and say, well, actually, this year my job was more important. This year my, fitness program was more important. This year, whatever you want to put on first place. When Jesus clearly said, this is the thing. You do not be complacent about this. This is the number one commandment. It's a commandment.
Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. Another enemy of consistency. Complacency is definitely an enemy of consistency. If you want to be consistent, you've got to remove complacency.
Yeah.
But also compromise. They all begin with C, don't they?
Yeah, all these things.
Kind of line
we didn't
that
plan
up.
this. It's just a thing.
But compromise is when you say, okay, this is what we've got to keep doing to gain a momentum. a momentum that will bear fruit for us in what we're doing, whether marriage or church building or any other project or hobby, paddleboarding to church building. But it's when then suddenly you get that little thing, yeah, but let's not do this anymore. It takes too much effort. Or let's cut corners here. That's compromise, right? Mm-hmm. But the problem is, if you compromise a recipe, it will show up in the cake.
Yeah, it will. Consistency changes consistency.
It changes the consistency.
What kind of cake do you want at the end of this?
I love the two meanings there of consistency, meaning continually doing something the same way.
And then the quality.
And the quality of something. So if you're looking at a marriage today, if you're looking at church building today, growing your team in church, we want to say, have a conviction with consistency. Avoid complacency and keep away from compromise. Because compromise, it's amazing. You can buy something brilliant in church. I used to go to this one brand in America to buy these T-shirts. Loved them. They were reasonably priced, really good quality. And one day I went into the shop. I was visiting America, made my normal visit to that shop. And I thought, I'm going to pick up 2 or 3 of these T-shirts. I really like them. Yeah. But suddenly I put them on. And the price was the same, but they didn't feel the same. When you washed them, they weren't the same.
Cut corners.
What they'd done was they'd compromised the quality to keep the price as it was. I'd rather have paid more for the T-shirt they once provided. Sometimes we need to realise if we want family church to remain strong, we don't compromise our commitment to God and to what he's called us to do. We have a conviction about it. We have a consistency. We keep away from complacency. I just want to honour, as we close today, across family church, just the faithful teams of people. And they're not people that want the stage. Many of them have never been on the stage. But they have this commitment to consistency. Now, we live in England, building church 52 weeks a year. Sometimes the sun out, sometimes it's a nice spring morning, but a lot of the time it's pouring with rain. You're rushing the equipment from storage in. But I'm just thinking of certain faces right now of people, we call them rain or shine people. Rain or shine people, that that some may not come because of external elements changing, but others will. That's what you build. If it's a marriage, 2 people committed to consistency can build something great. If it's a church or a business, 2 people or a number of people committed to consistency without compromise, who hate complacency.
I have another.
Come on.
I have another C word.
Do it.
Add to our
the
C words.
word.
The reason why these people are so consistent, the reason why someone in a marriage is so consistent, and a dieter is so consistent, is because of conviction.
Knew you were going there.
You knew it.
Boom.
Right?
Mic drop, bang.
But that
conviction.
again is where Jesus is setting us up. You see, by him giving us these commandments, this commandment, I give you this commandment that you love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your strength. What does that say? That is conviction. Let the conviction of your heart be, I am absolutely in love with God in every way, shape, and form in my life. And that conviction will cause my consistency, because I'm not consistent when I'm not convinced. You know what I mean? If I'm not convinced in my love for God, if I'm compromising, he's good, but...
Lack of conviction.
But actually, I love this thing better. Yeah. He's good, but I love money a lot more. I love sleep a lot more.
That was Israel's problem, wasn't it? In a relationship, God said, I'm fully yours. I'm fully convinced. I'm convicted. I'm yours. But Israel wanted God and the other idols and Baal and other things, because there wasn't a matching conviction.
Right. And if your conviction is that in first of all, in your love for God and loving him with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your strength, then that is going to affect every other part of your life. That is going to affect the consistency that you have in loving your husband or loving your wife. That is going to affect your parenting and how consistent you are, because when you love God with all that you are, you want your children to know this God that you love so much. So you are going to be more consistent in how you raise your children. You are going to, to me, Jesus was a genius and gave us the most genius commandment that is not some law. He was telling us the secret to consistency in life.
Yeah.
To how to make something flourish.
Yeah.
And that was the number one thing. That and loving your neighbor as yourself. But the greatest love of our life should be the number one is to love God with all of who we are. And that will give us the conviction to be consistent. That's going to be the motor inside you. Why are we here 25 years later doing what we do, rain or shine? Bad days. We've had bad days, and we've had great days. We've had valleys that were deep, and we've had mountaintop that's been like, woo, rejoicing. But we've had all of it. Why are we still here? Yeah. Because we love the Lord our God with all of our heart, with all of our strength, and with everything in us. And because we love Him with all of that, we want to do what He's called us to do. Our number one conviction is, I just want to do what He wants. I'm in love with Him.
And all of these things, we live in a world where everything has to be on the forefront of the stage. But actually things like conviction, consistency, are things that are in the unseen of their life. It's a part of the iceberg under the water that produces that incredible peak that comes out of the water there. I can remember people saying of us in the early days, when we were like 10 years in as a church, like almost treating us like we were an overnight success. And I used to say, that was a long night. Because you look at things, you judge them, they just had it all handed on the plate, because you don't know the backstory. Oh. But whenever you find something that's strong, an iceberg that can sink a ship, it's because of the unseen consistency, conviction, lack of compromise, a heart against complacency that said, no, we are going to do this. And I want to honour everyone in Family Church that walks right alongside us with that passion and that conviction of consistency. Somebody's saying a number of comments here. Thanks for your comments coming in. Dan Warboy, he says, would love to see you write a book, the both of us, on marriage and raising kids, as we got a beautiful relationship. What would we call that book? If we were going to write a book on marriage and raising kids, God help us.
I really messed up, but God's gracious.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. What if we wrote a book on marriage and raising kids? What would we call it?
I always say, by the grace of God. But by the grace of God, I honestly, people say, how do you do it? And they think I'm just being humble, or I honestly am not. I just have fallen on my face before God.
True.
All the time with everything, because in so many ways I'll come to God and say, I have failed. I am a failure. I'm doing bad at this. This is terrible. I need you, God. Yeah. And He's faithful every time.
Consistently including Him in all things. Love that. Hey, I hope that you've enjoyed today and being a part of this Talking Church with me and my wonderful wife, Gina. And we've been talking about consistency. Remember, you can send in emails and comments at hello@talking.church. Again, want to send out a huge thank you to everyone in our team that shows such consistency. Some of them consistency shown for 25 years. But maybe you're dealing with something in your life right now where you haven't got the momentum that you want, but you're doing what you should be doing. Be consistent. Avoid complacency. Avoid compromise. Make those the enemies of your life. Embrace consistency. Keep doing what you're doing. Now, if you need to change the recipe, change the recipe. But if you don't need to change the recipe, maybe you just need to keep on doing with a passion what you are doing, knowing that it will work. When you're good with consistency, you'll create momentum. When you create momentum, suddenly it's not like you're pushing a car uphill. You have something that has an effect. But I want to close with this. Remember reading a book once, From Good to Great by Jim Collins. It was like a management book. And he said that a lot of people actually sentence themselves to failure because they never create full cycles. They have something called a loop of doom. where they spend energy, spend energy, spend energy, spend energy.
I know this
And they're
loop of
just
doom.
about to go around and complete a cycle and find momentum. But just as they're about to go round, they go, let's stop doing that. Let's now do this. And they begin to start again. And they start again. And they don't realise that they were moments away from creating a full cycle which would produce the momentum that they were dreaming of in their heart. Don't create loops of doom where you don't finish cycles. How do you finish a cycle? Consistency. Keep on keeping on when others stop. Out love, out lead, out think. Just keep on being consistent to what God has given you to do and what others are expecting you to do. Consistency will bear fruit in your life. I hope you've enjoyed this time together. Thank you. We've missed you. You haven't been on Talking Church for quite a long time.
No.
And we need you back. We really do. I love the wisdom that you share. Have an amazing week. We'll see you next week for Talking Church.